This is Vince Russo's The Brand.
Yo, what is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Wrestling with Tragedy. We bring you case number 87, the Renegade, and we're going to get into it and break that down very shortly. We are the Russo's Brand Crack Investigation Unit. We dive deep into every topic that we do. We unravel everything, and we go deep in cover into these topics to make sure we bring you the absolute honest truth and our perspectives on that.
Balls deep?
I'm talking about balls deep. But ladies and gentlemen, this week, John Poz is unfortunately not with us, but we do have a special guest filling in. That is Allan Kwee, We Funk. But before I get into introducing my co-host for the episode, let's take a quick pause for the cause to thank some of those amazing people we call sponsors. Angel, you go first up. Why don't you take it away?
Oh, you want me to do the health vape? No, I ain't doing this. You do it.
Healthvape.com, ladies and gentlemen, is your healthy vaping alternative. All of their products are no nicotine, no addictive or harmful chemicals, and they are vitamin infused. Guys, check out some of their vape and pod products. Use promo code MWAPOD to get a 10% discount on your final purchase.
Get on it, neighbors.
There you go, neighbors, man. If you definitely want to get your athletic gear on, definitely check out sleeves.com. Alan Funk always wears those dirty boxes to get the fat rats all hype and hot and bothered, man. But, you know, definitely check out sleeves.com. Use promo code MWAPOD for 10% off. And, you know, it is awesome. It definitely got our holiday specials, too, so check them out. Man, I got this freaking nose hair. I feel like I'm pulling nose hairs because I got to trim these motherfuckers.
Absolutely. But guys, I do just want to also make a special announcement for this show. This show, we are going to be discussing, depression, mental health, and also suicide. So if you're feeling suicidal or someone you know is suicidal, please see below. We have the USA Suicide Prevention Hotline, which will be scrolling at the bottom of the screen, as well as the Australian Lifeline number, which will be scrolling at the bottom of the screen as well. So that's a suicide prevention hotline in the United States, 1-800-273-8255, and Australia Lifeline 131114. But guys, getting into this episode, the Renegade, who is really a character that was brought in to really, I think, dupe the fans almost, you know what I mean? Like when they brought this guy in to WCW as a character, the build-up was the ultimate surprise, and they had the shadow of this guy being promoted, which they're almost trying to do like a carny working of the fans, thinking it's going to be the Ultimate Warrior coming on board. But when this guy actually debuted, fans kind of didn't resonate with him straight away. You know what I mean? Like they sort of felt like they got worked and they got bullshit by the company.
Well, first of all, I want to ask Alan real quick question. Was he one of the guys in the power plant and that had the opportunity to get that spot? Like, did he fit the mold of the Ultimate Warrior look?
Well, I'm not really sure how he got a spot, honestly. That's about the time I just got there. I believe I was there for probably a year. Before I think he shot himself. Is that right? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah,
I hadn't really talked about this issue for a while, but I don't know if I think he was at the power plant a little bit. I never saw him down there. That was I think he was there a few years before me. But I was kind of young in the business then, and I didn't really, I still wasn't really too smart to the business back then. So I really don't know all the circumstances, how he got his job or whatever, but I can understand. He had a chance to work with some top guys. I mean, he did some stuff with Hogan, a lot of these guys, and then then his they didn't renew his contract from what I understand, and then it led to him doing whatever he did.
With just curiosity, I mean, it's your honest opinion, not to bash him or anything. Did you think he was a solid worker after you watch his matches? Do you think he was really solid?
Personally, no. I think he could use a little more work. He had energy and stuff, but like Pierce said, I don't think it was so much the fans. The fans back then that's when they started getting really smart to the business. Then the internet started coming out about then, and then there was more stuff. So I don't think the fans were so mad because the Ultimate Warrior didn't come out, they just didn't know what to do because they never saw this guy before.
But you know what's funny, man? I mean, I'm being honest. I mean, when I was in the business, I mean, I was still at Gleason's, so I was still a greenhorn and stuff like that. And I was watching WCW and Monday Night Wars and stuff like that as a mark. But I mean, like as soon as I saw him walk out and do his premiere or his, I was like, what the hell? I mean, I thought he was garbage as a fan. Like,
Yeah.
like, oh, this is just a carbon copy of the Ultimate Warrior. So I think I was shitting on him right out the gate.
Yeah, well, and that's probably what most fans did too, because they said the ultimate surprise, as Pierce said, and these fans, if they got it in their mind, they want to see the Ultimate Warrior. They thought they were smart enough to know that was going to be the Ultimate Warrior, and then they swerved them, and that might have been a Kevin Sullivan idea or something. He was probably booking then. I'm not sure whose idea it was. Maybe Terry Taylor's, Nash's. I don't know, but the fans probably just got pissed because they swerved him, and then they didn't want to give him the energy that they would have put into cheering for the Ultimate Warrior, I guess.
Go ahead, Pierce.
But as well, like you look at it, whenever they've done, I don't want to say the parody character, but in a way it kind of is. It's like when they did the fake Undertaker, the fake Diesel, the fake Razor Ramon, like those characters, those types of parodies, they're only going to have a limited lifeline.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and Alan, like, you did the Funkster gimmick as well. Like, did you feel like even when you did something like that was just sort of like a transitional thing for you, or was that just like something for you to pop the boys at the time? Like, what was?
Yeah, a combination of both. I mean, some of the boys, popped on it. They liked it. Hogan didn't like it from what Nash told me, and I knew it was going to be a short-lived gimmick. But you know what? At the time, I didn't really have much of a choice. In the wrestling business, I was never one of those names where I could tell them what I wanted to do. Other than at that particular moment, I started doing that. I got booked over in Australia with Andrew McManus in the WWA, and got booked it got me booked in Japan, and got to work with some good Japanese wrestlers. And I knew it was going to be short lived, but I figured it was the only way I could keep my foot in the door. And I stayed in the business a little longer than probably what I would have if I hadn't done it.
No, but I think I'm being honest. I mean, you was already established. That's like me, the Kingpin, and then I did a New Jack gimmick. They're always going to be like, "Oh, that's Kwee-Wee." You already have something established. So even if you drop the Funkster and come back as Kwee-Wee, they were going to be, "Oh yeah, it's Kwee-Wee. Yeah, he's just doing that for shits and giggles and stuff like that." But if that was your one opportunity to be the Funkster, and that's all you're shooting yourself in the foot.
That's but you know what? Sometimes for these young wrestlers, man, it's all you got. And you're thinking in your head, as I look back on it, I'm thinking, man, I worked this hard to get to where I'm at. They want to put this gimmick on me, and I don't have no say so about it. Well, guess what? It's going to be better than not being on TV at all. Because you're thinking about, later, if I do some indie shots, people remember me from TV. I'll get more money in the indies. So you're thinking about right then and now. You're kind of thinking about the future once it's done. But you're kind of in the now, man. You're like, shit, I'm going to get on TV. I'm going to be working like his case. I'm working with Hogan and all these top guys. Fuck yeah, I'm going to do it. I'll worry about, what's going to happen later.
The only person that I know that, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, was Kane when he did the fake Diesel, because he did the Isaac Yankem DDS. He did Isaac Yankem, that went to the shits, and then he did the fake Diesel, because usually once you do that shit, it's a wrap. And then after that, he did Kane and he blew the fuck up. So that shit was a godsend for him, because usually that is just a career killer in itself.
Yeah.
But also he's a phenomenal performer as well.
It's not that. No, it's not about his performance. But if you get to me, this is my opinion. If they gave me a gimmick to mimic whatever character, if it's Hogan, if I'm doing a Ron Simmons gimmick or Ahmed Johnson gimmick, and that's my first opportunity, I could be the most solid worker on the planet. But the possibilities of me being typecast, that's why actors hate being typecast. I will always be known as, oh yeah, you're the guy who betrayed Ahmed Johnson, and that's it. I have no foundation for myself. But if I was, like I said, Kwee-Wee had a foundation. He's always known as that character. He could be the fucking, he could be the Great White Hope, and they'd be like, oh, they'll always remember him as that character. He already established himself. That's just my opinion. I mean, am I wrong, Alan?
No. I mean, people are always going to remember what you're best known for, obviously. But like I said, with some guys in the business, you really don't have a choice. So you're going to take what's given to you, and you're going to worry about, what happens later. You're figuring, like, my mindset was, listen, if they're going to give me the opportunity to be a character on TV and give me TV time, and if it don't work out a couple years, you've seen it before, guys doing different gimmicks, then I thought to myself, well, maybe I can finally do what I want to do, and they'll listen to some of my ideas. But never happened. But with WWE at the time with Kane and all them guys, Vince loved big guys. So now his mindset's kind of changed a little bit. But back then he loved the big guys. If you were a big guy and you stood out, fortunate for Kane is he's not only a good worker, he's got a good look, he's a big dude. Obviously Vince liked him, and that's why he got his opportunity. Had that been me, probably not, because I'm 5'9". I'm not the size of Kane. So back then it worked out for him, and fortunately in the business at that time, Vince knew how to redevelop guys. I mean, look how many guys he said, like the fake Diesel, Ramon, all them guys. And then, there's a few of those guys that did, 4 or 5 different gimmicks until they finally got the gimmick that made them famous. And people kind of forget about the other stuff after after he became king. People don't really remember that other stuff.
But if you were bigger like a Steiner, Scott Steiner.
Yeah, if I was 6'4", a little
Is he
bigger.
6'4"? Because I was taller than him.
No. Yeah, no, I'm just saying. But I mean, but his stature alone, you thought he was 6'4" just because he was so damn big. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I mean, he was big this way, because I remember when I saw him in Canada. I mean, I'm not saying he was short, but I just remember I was taller than him, so I was like, oh, I'm 6'2".
Yeah.
So that's why I was wondering.
Yeah, I think Scotty was probably about 6 foot, 5'11", 6 foot, I guess.
Okay, yeah. But go ahead, Pierce.
But with Renegade, obviously that gimmick that he went in there, and with the limited ability that he had as a performer, he couldn't really evolve that character anymore, could he? Like, obviously, like as you guys are a veteran and you go in as a performer, like if you had stayed in that Kwee character, say, and WCW long term, longer than what you were, that character would have evolved over time because you would have needed to keep the Kwee character fresh. It's the same with the Kingpin character. It's like, if the Baldies had split in ECW and you went on to have a singles career, you would have had to have evolved that character to give it more of an establishment. Like if you would split from Paisley and that sort of stuff, you know what I mean? Like there's certain bits of evolvement of a character. Do you think he couldn't put those pieces together because his knowledge wasn't there in the business?
Yeah, he was fucked from the get-go, man. He just took the spot they give him and was hoping for the best. And he like I said, you worry about, later. He was just probably happy to get on TV and said, fuck it, I'm going to be working with Hogan and all these guys. Who the hell wouldn't want to take that shot?
Yeah. Yo, but Allan, since you were real close to Paul Orndorff and you always told me stories that, he always chipped his teeth with you and kind of opened up. I mean, I know Bash at the Beach, he wrestled Renegade and got defeated by him. Did he ever mention that? Like, man.
You know what? I never did talk to him about that.
But
Paul was one of those dudes. He, as crazy as Paul was and he really, he believed that he was Paul Orndorff and he was a badass. That's what made that character believable. And he did it well, but he also didn't have a problem with trying to put other guys over. So I don't think Paul would have had a problem with that at all, or he probably wouldn't have done it.
Well, I mean, in my opinion, I think Paul Orndorff's the type of person that, well, if I want to put you over, I'm going to make you work.
Yeah. He's going to get himself over too in the process. But I mean, I'm sure he probably, I'm sure he earned that win. I'm sure about that.
Well, I'm just scared. I mean, like I said, Regal does that, like, hey, if I'm going to put you over, man, you're going to earn that, I'm going to put you over strong, but you got to work for it. I'm not going to let you.
I'm like old school, and I think you're like me. I agree with stuff like that. If I would have went into a match with Orndorff, I would expect to, for him to make me earn it, and Steve Regal and, guys like Benoit and stuff like that. But
absolutely.
To me, I'd welcome that. Some, nowadays, some guys are like, fuck that shit.
Yeah,
but that's the thing. By doing that keeps their character strong. By like, if they go over and you just sort of steamroll through them and it's a piss poor match or whatever, it makes them look bad because they're the person who's looking up at the lights that night. So if they sort of give you a solid match, they're still winning. You know what I mean? Like it's not.
No, I kind of disagree. I mean, my thought is that if I'm going to put somebody over that doesn't have the credibility. Like if I was wrestling Allan, we'll work hard and work solid, But in my mindset, if I went with somebody like, hey, you got to put over one of the guys from AEW, if you throw somebody, I don't know, but I will be like, okay, fine,
like Jungle Boy.
Like Jungle Boy, okay, I'll put him over, no problem. But then I roll up my sleeves and say, bro, I'm gonna make you work, man. I want to blow you the fuck up.
Tonight.
Yeah, we're getting dirty. You're gonna get the win, but you're gonna realize when you walk out that ring, you was in a battle. Yeah. It's a old school mindset.
Yeah, right.
People paying their dues, and I think if you're gonna put somebody over that doesn't have the credibility, then I'm just gonna make you really work hard to get that win and breathing in the ring, holding your hand up because you're blown the fuck up.
Right. But I think the business has got away from that though a little bit. I think everybody's afraid to hurt people's feelings, and I think whatever. But whatever the case is, yeah. But I mean, there's still a couple guys like that left, but not as many as there used to be.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. I would definitely do that to the Renegade because, again, I didn't think he had any. I can't even remember his promos. I mean, that's how bad I thought he was. And I hate knocking the guy, but he never stood out to me. All I kept seeing was the Warrior, and he was just nothing but a cookie cutter character.
Yeah, I think that's most people's opinion, though. I would think.
But, and his promos were horrible because I can't even remember anything memorable about it because I don't even remember him talking. I know he did. That's the sad part.
But, his character, with Piers brought my character up. Like I was in the process of starting to once I got on TV a little bit, I kind of tried to incorporate more of Angry Allan. When I came out the ring, I'd do that shit to try to get away from that Kwee stuff. And I was starting to, if I would have had an opportunity in WCW, not would have got bought out. I was kind of having more of an opportunity to kind of do a little more that stuff that I wanted to kind of incorporate and kind of evolve my character. And I think had I had time, I would have done that. And it's probably the same thing with him. But I mean, from what I remember, his career was pretty short-lived on TV, if I remember right.
Yeah, but do you think when you did the Angry Allan and the Kwee gimmick, like that's why you painted the garbage can pink to give it that to balance both characters out?
Yeah. Plus, you know what? Anything that you can do different. Nobody else came out with pink trash cans. So I had the guys. I said, listen, you guys got pink spray paint? And they're like, no. And the crew went out and bought pink spray paint for me, and I told them I wanted the cans and the lids, or whatever else you want to paint it pink because that kind of shit stands out. You didn't see fucking Hack or anybody else walking the ring New Jack with a pink fucking trash can.
No, I mean it does stood out because I remember it. See, I mean after all these years, it just sticks in my brain like that's the first thing that popped up.
And I still got the pink trash can lid that I wrestled Reno with in Little Rock, Arkansas. I sent it from the hotel. I sent it back to the house, so I got that as a keepsake.
Good, sell it to me. I'll sell it on eBay.
But I'll give you $2,000. You can have it.
Oh, you're crazy. But just curiosity, do you think? Okay, do you think if he would have said no, like, man, I don't want to do that, do you think that would have just killed his career too? If he would have told him no, that he was not interested in the Renegade character?
Well, you looking back on WCW at the time, yeah, man, they had so many fucking guys. They were paying Leaping Lanny Poffo for fucking ridiculous money for sitting at home, never did one show in 3, 4, 5 years, and he back when you were working trying to get on TV, you've seen all this stuff going on. So you're like, they got all these this talent, they're paying good money for. There was guys at the power plant that were hungry and ready to come on TV, and any chance you got to get on TV, you're going to fucking take it, like I said, and then worry about the rest of it later.
Yeah,
I mean, look at me. I went through the power plant. A lot of guys did. Once you made it through that tryout, dude, in my eyes, that ought to give you enough credibility to fucking start getting on TV. Because I was doing independence before I even went to WCW. A lot of guys didn't, but I didn't want to tell them I did independence because I didn't want to get treated any different. But looking back on it now, if I would have, I probably would have got treated a little different. I might have got on TV faster, but that's not the route I wanted to take because I wanted, I didn't want to just come in WCW and get special treatment.
Yeah, go ahead, Pierce.
What I found interesting about Renegade was we mentioned about how he worked, how his promos were, that they're a little bit lackluster. He actually was trained under Killer Kowalski. And there's a lot of greats have been trained by Killer Kowalski, China, Triple H, to name a couple. Perry Saturn, exactly. And Killer Kowalski, one of the greats of all time. So it's a surprise that this guy went out there at that level under being trained under Killer Kowalski and not being able to deliver.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, it's probably one of those cases of I didn't know the guy personally. Like I said, I was there in WCW, but I never got a chance to meet him. I think I met him one time, said hey or whatever, but it was real quick. So I never knew him. He might have been one of those guys in the school where you had these guys, even at the power plant, where they kind of stayed behind everybody else and they didn't do quite what they needed to do. And they still were one of those people that, the old term is you fall in a bucket of shit and you smell like a rose. That I don't, maybe that was him. I don't have any clue, but I'm just guessing, maybe he went to the school and didn't do everything he could have done. And with his body and stuff, because he had a decent body, made him stand out, and that's all he needed to do. So who knows?
Dude, he looked phenomenal.
I didn't think I thought he was a shits.
Well, yeah, he had a decent body. He was a little chubby, maybe a little too much Anadrol and didn't diet right, but he was still a big dude.
Oh yeah, he was big. I mean, he was just smooth. He wasn't chiseled, But but due to the fact that he, committed suicide because one part it was financial, like he was just no money. So I was always wondering, and I know you don't know, but like with that spot, man, comes great cash. I figured you're wrestling with the Hogans, you got your manager with Jimmy Hart, you're doing all these massive angles. I was always curious about, was he getting paid or was he just getting the base salary because he was just a greenhorn still?
Well, listen, I can tell you from experience with me and a lot of guys that I came up with in the power plant, certain guys didn't get, for some reason or another. Like I'll use Evan Courageous for example. I talk to him on the phone all the time. He got hooked up with he was friends with National Hall. They got him a spot on TV, whatever. He got to work a main event with Macho Man one night. So he came in making a little better money because he had an agent for one. And for whatever reason, somebody liked him, give him a little more money. Now, the guys in the power plant, not saying nobody didn't like us, but they took advantage of us. A lot of us guys in the power plant, we're doing Nitro Thunder. We're doing the Saturday night every other fucking week. We're on the road 6-7 days a week there for a minute, making shit money. Me and Neelix Skipper, for example, and Sonny Siaki, we're making, fucking $500 a week, paying for our own hotels, paying for our own rental cars. So when you're on the road 5-6 days a week doing indie shows, and then you're going to the pay-per-views, then you're wrestling on Nitro and Thunder, and every other week, Wednesday, you're doing the TV tapings for Saturday night, and you're on the road 6 days a week, bro, you're going to spend money, and you're only making $500 a week, and that's before tax, or that's everything. You still got to pay 30% taxes. So on that $500, you're paying, 30% taxes on that because your employer ain't matching any because you're an independent contractor. You're not making shit. You're making shit money. Now you can write everything off at the end of the year, but fuck, you got to survive until then. You know what I mean? So he might have been making shit money. I'm not going to say he was making $300,000 a year. He might have been making, like some of us doing all that stuff, making less than $75,000 a year starting out.
But just curiosity, I mean, with the boys, like if I was sitting with you and you go, hey, Ange, hey, here's my financial guy, man. He could help you out, get your money right, make sure you're okay. That bit was spread around the locker room, like, yo, hit up so-and-so, just Wiskolski law firm, they take care of the boys.
A lot of us did talk about that. Like I talked to Evan about that the other day. And then there was guys like Hogan. He flat out told his manager or his agent at the time, I can't remember his name, do not fucking talk to anybody else in the locker room. No wrestlers. I'm the only one that's on your deal. No, and you can't have anybody else. And of course, being Hogan, if I would have went up to him and said, hey, do you mind, could you maybe like go talk and give me more money? And, then he'd get money because you're paying him 10%, 20% or whatever you agree to. Evan Courageous had the same manager as Hogan did at one point. And I guess he got a lot of heat with Hogan because I guess that was before Hogan told him that. So he got the same manager and Hogan was fucking shit hot about it. So then he went to another manager, which Goldberg had and a few other guys, and Sean O'Hare and Jindrak got the same. I think it was Barry Bloom was his name. But here's my deal. Okay. So if I'm going to start paying this guy making $500 a week and 10% of that, dude, 5 or 10%, 20% of $500, I'm fucking losing my ass because I'm not fucking getting no more. And if you're going to go to the office and only get me $1,000 a week, that's still only $52,000 a year. And then I'm still going to pay you fucking 10%, 20% of that. It wasn't worth it for me to get somebody because I don't think they could have got me, if he'd have got me $3,000 a week, yeah, then I would have hired him. But I don't think at that time WCW was so tight at that point they weren't giving money away like they were when the NWO started and the Monday Night Wars. They were fucking throwing money away, man. Like Vincent making 15 grand a week. Fucking Hogan was on a $250,000 a week fucking contract. He's making $1 million a month. And all these other guys are making stupid money. You're paying Leap and Lanny fucking $300,000, $500,000 to fucking sit at home and not do nothing. And then you're paying all these other Mexicans they found out later all this money, and they hadn't even worked for the company for a fucking year. So the money just wasn't there.
But do you think that if you did get that guy Bloom to be your manager, would it be like a Jerry Maguire situation? Like, Hogan is his main source of income, but every time you're like, hey man, what's going on, man? What about yeah, I got you. Don't worry about it.
And that's probably how it would have been. He probably would have been, if he got say 20 of us from the power plant and was getting 10% of each of us, or 20%, or I can't remember what they used to pay these guys, but he's getting, making a couple $1,000s extra on the side, not doing a fucking thing. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that happened a lot.
Go ahead, Pierce. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna get into, obviously, we sort of touch base on Renegade's financial situation as well, and in that spot like that he was in the 90s, like wrestlers then, even mid-carders, were they making big money besides like the Hogans and like Bret Harts and the Shawn Michaels, like guys like that were coming up, like say even a DDP at that stage, he wouldn't have been making like,
oh yeah, he was on a different deal. He was making a little more money.
Well, the thing is that, like I said, for me, during the time of ECW, I wasn't really making any money, and all my money was going to like my rent and my food on the road and stuff. But I wasn't blowing it on fucking hookers and blow. I was just just surviving and really like not scratching, but like my mindset was like protein powders, metric bars, my supplements. I was living like that and really surviving off like if we went to a hotel, we went to the Fairfield, like free gimmicks, breakfast, work that gimmick, to not spend money and have and also take shit back to the hotel.
And you were also sharing rooms and stuff in cars with people, right? Dude,
Yeah.
all of us from the power plant, there would have been on a lot of days, it'd be like me, Jimmy Yang, Mark Jindrak, Mike Sanders, Sean O'Hare, Elix Skipper, Kid Romeo. I mean, probably close to anywhere from 7 to 10 guys in a fucking hotel room. We go asking for an extra bed, the cart to carry in there. So one guy sleeping on a bed, 2-3 guys in each bed, and then one guy on the pull out, and then one guy on the fucking floor, because we just didn't have the money to go around like that. And with that Renegade, who knows? Like I said, he might have not been making anything. And then he's working with all these top guys. It's probably driving him fucking crazy, because I talked to Evan Craig about it the other night. I'm working with guys on TV that are fucking cruiserweight champs making $300,000 a year. I'm making fucking less than 40,
Yeah.
and I'm fucking making these guys look good. If they forget spots, I'm fucking carrying the match. What the fuck? You guys are making $300,000 a year. Why am I doing all the fucking work?
Yeah.
Now, in his case, I'm sure he wasn't working a match and he wasn't fucking calling shit, but he might not have been making any money working with these guys, and it might have drove him fucking nuts.
And either that, or he could have been
What's up,
making
John?
good money.
Hey, what's going on?
Doing all right, buddy?
But the funny thing is that the reason, like Alan's saying, the reason I shared the room is because they were like, hey, if we stayed at the Marriott, and I was like, hey, how much? Oh, it's $210. And I'm like, shit, yo, you want to split a room? Because I was like, any angle, any cut corners we can, do. And like I said, I mean, if you got like 10, not 10 guys, but like 5 guys in the room, pull out a pull-out sofa, the bed. I mean, tear down that bed and split the bed, and somebody sleeps on the box spring, somebody sleeps on the mattress on the floor. That would just saving you money. Plus, I was grabbing those receipts just to say, that I paid full price for the room. To turn into my tax guy to make sure I was getting a different tax bracket. But that's just a video game.
But as well, I think, looking at what ended up, ultimately happening with him, going through severe depression, going through the release. And you see this with like athletes as well, like when they go into retirement and they start to either abuse drugs or go down this route of depression, which leads to eventual suicide, because they're no longer in that life. They're no longer in that spotlight of TV. And I think that mentally with some people, they can't handle it, and it breaks them down, because it's like, man, I used to be on TV every single week. now I'm a fucking nobody. I'm like going and doing my groceries, and you know what I mean. Like people aren't recognizing who I am anymore.
Dude, let me tell you something. It does weigh on you, and it's tough. It's a tough transition, even for guys like like me and some of the guys at Power Plant. We didn't get a lot of TV time that we wanted, or we didn't quite get to do what we wanted. But dude, you're going now. You're going to restaurants. People will recognize you everywhere you go. No matter where you go. And I didn't consider me to be a big household wrestling name, but hell, anywhere we went, people knew who the hell we were. So you're going from being on TV, you're working with Hogan, you're working with fucking Sting and all these top guys. Here, then you lose your fucking contract. You go on the road, and I tell you that I'm not going to mention any names, but there's been a couple times after we got off WCW, WWE bought us. We go up to Les Thatcher School. There's at least 2 or 3 guys that I know for a fact that were depressed. Never went to killing herself or anything, but some of the stuff they would tell me. Like there was a one wrestler that we worked with in WCW, and he went to WWE with us. I remember one day he was all depressed, pissed. He's like, "Man, this is fucking, wearing on me." So I'm thinking he's going to tell me he misses his wife and kids and this and that. But here he said, "Hell, I walked into Wendy's today, not one person recognized me." And he's like, "That's fucking bullshit." Like, I'm sitting here worried about missing my wife and worried about keeping my marriage together. This fucking guy's worried about somebody saying, "Oh, hey, you're fucking so and so from WCW." The mindset of some of these guys, it really fucking it tears them down, man.
And the thing is, I never believed my own hype. I always was level-headed in regards of who I was. But the funny thing is, it's a high. It is a high to be recognized, because when I went with Devon, I know I spoke this before, but when WWE had that restaurant in Times Square, me and Devon hooked up to just hang out, because he was in WWE and I was in WWF at the time, and I was in ECW. So we were off at the same time, and we were like, "Hey, let's do lunch." And he goes, "Let's go to the WWE restaurant." And when we went there, man, it was the red carpet treatment. As soon as I walked in, I mean, again, I wasn't believing my whole hype, but my ears were open, and they're, "Oh, there goes Devon and Angel." Then the fucking manager was like, yeah, come in, like in the fucking Goodfellas, when he walked through the basement and everybody was fucking through. Yeah, man, we went down. He fucking velvet off a section, with velvet rope, put a section. Yeah. He came to us, took our order, and Allan, I'm being honest, bro. I still remember to this day why I ordered some fucking broccoli, mashed potatoes, and a half a chicken. And bro, I swear to God, he went to the back like, "Yo, I got Devon back out there. I got Angel from ECW out there." Because when that plate came, that shit was the most delicious shit I ever tasted. They fucking put the 11 herbs and spices to the 10th level on that motherfucker. And I mean, it is a fucking high, because the treatment that you get makes you feel like, wow. But once it's gone, either you accept it or you fall into a state of depression. Go ahead, John. I'll let you talk.
Well, I was going to say that with Renegade too, do you think a part of it is he was kind of a fake Ultimate Warrior in essence, but it's like he was pretending to be another guy and was famous for pretending to be another guy. So then when he had to be himself and he was away from wrestling, I wonder if that messed with his head at all either, because he was basically supposed to be somebody else and not even be his true character of what he wanted to be anyway. I wonder if that just messed him up at all. It's kind of a weird thing, but I was always curious about that, if that screwed with his head.
Well, because but the thing is that you're not being, like, you're right, you're not being yourself, you're being somebody else. Like the Angel character is a level up of who I am. You amp it up
yourself. Yeah.
Angry Allan. I mean, the motherfucker's angry all the time. That's an extension of himself.
Fuck you.
But it is. But you the character you portray is an extension of who you are. He never had the opportunity to do that, because he was just pretending to be somebody else. The Ultimate Warrior, which is just. You get lost.
Let's be honest, man. Some of these fans too, they're pretty fucking brutal when you meet them out, in the real world. They don't have a problem coming up to you and going, "Oh, you was this fucking Kwee character and shit, and that was the shits." They don't care. They'll make you feel like shit and say, they don't realize the hard work it took to get to where you were. And when you get an opportunity to do what you have to do after all this hard work, you want to take it because you don't want an opportunity to pass you up. You don't necessarily want to take what they give you, but you really don't have an option. And these fans. And Angel, I don't know if Angel ever had experience like this, but I've had several. Even today, people be like, "Oh, you were this character that was the shits, and your ring work was okay. You always had a good body, but why the hell did you do that stupid shit?" And And I don't really try to entertain that kind of stuff. I just tell them, thanks for watching or whatever. They don't have a clue of what you had to do to get to what you had to do.
Well, I mean,
sorry, I was just going to say it's funny because it's like I remember Stevie Richards telling a story where he was doing like a live podcast, and someone goes, "What would Stevie Richards know? He was never WWE champion." And we all know Stevie, who's probably one of the most intelligent guys that you could ever talk to, not just in wrestling but in life. And it's like, man, like some wrestling fans are just so out of touch about like, just because someone wasn't a WWE champion or a main event star doesn't mean they're a fucking idiot, and doesn't mean they're not knowledgeable about the product and the business,
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying about the fans, because they don't care. They do not give a shit if it hurt or affects you. They don't know if you're going through some kind of mental thing. They don't give a shit.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody asks me, "Hey, how hard it is to do a podcast?" I mean, I can't do it. I say, "Shit, look at Pierce. He's on it. He could do it. Anybody could do
it." I love you too, Angel.
Well, look at Renegade, though. In essence, like of that, in 1995, whatever this means, Wrestling Observer, worst wrestler of the year. So he gets put in this gimmick he probably doesn't really want to be. He's the fake Ultimate Warrior, but he's voted worst wrestler of the year. I'm sure that maybe doesn't bother a lot of people, but if you're the wrestler, you're probably like, "What the worst wrestler? What the hell are you guys know? You're, internet marks. You're calling me the worst wrestler? Like, get it? Like, get a life,
Well, that can go both ways.
It was 3 years in the business. He was still like 3 years in the business. Are you still a rookie at that stage? Like, to a certain degree, you would be. Like 3 years in and being on national television, you're in way over your head clearly at that stage.
Well, I remember one time. I mean, I forgot, it was an article on the internet, like the worst tag teams. And me and DeVito were number 10. I was like, fuck it. As long as they're still talking about me, I don't give two fucks if they think I'm one of the worst tag teams, but I'm still remembered because somebody's reading that.
So, and some of the guys, they let that affect them way too much. I see all the stuff still on the internet with the same kind of stuff, Angel, where, worst wrestlers of all time. You got Kwee in there in the top 10 or, and I got a couple buddies of mine that I'm not going to mention any names, but they take that shit too serious, man. If someone sends them that, like on a Facebook Messenger or whatever, they'll send them that shit. They fucking block them. They're like, "Fuck this motherfucker. This is bullshit." Like, I don't know who the fuck does this shit, and I just never let it affect me like that. Like you said, if they're talking about you, they're talking about you,
But some people aren't that mentally strong. And like you take Renegade, for example, he may have gotten that worst wrestler in 95, and that's sitting there and people are going, "Oh man," and like, who gives a fuck what these marks have to say? Fuck him. Yeah, fuck him. You're right. And then later that night, he's laying in bed. Fuck. Worst wrestler. Fuck, man. Really? Like, I'm the fucking worst. And then like, like mentally, he might be one of those people who take something like that and fucking like just be like a dog with a bone with it, and then he gets released from WCW. He's not getting his paycheck, whether it's big, small, or whatever. He's now being, as John said, known as being a carbon copy of the Ultimate Warrior.
Acting like a guy that's acting like a guy.
But exactly. So like, what legacy does he left? So I can see if this guy has one of those things where he's overthinking shit and he's mentally just like putting himself in this hole and digging deeper and deeper and deeper. And that's what depression can do. It just digs you deeper into that hole.
Yeah. Now, is there any talk on the internet about him? Was he ever on medication? Do we know that? Or
no, I never really noticed him that he was on medication. I know he was pissed off all the time because of his financial situation. But again, that's anybody who has been struggling. And plus, he wasn't getting any other opportunities from other companies or indies.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not getting booked on the indies, man, that's hard, man, because, the indies take anybody, and that's something that they didn't want to do. But,
well, he might have been asking for way too much money too. Who knows?
Yeah.
Or have gone, "I'm too good to be on the indies. I've just been
like Braun Strowman." How much Braun Strowman's were acting like 20 grand, and he's the drizzling shits.
And he said he would never wrestle anywhere else.
Yeah. But what's funny though? The one thing I always know, and I always keep myself look, no matter how much I sucked or I was the drizzling shits or my fucking character was garbage, dude.
Or DeVito carried you. Yeah.
Oh yeah, DeVito carried me. I think because I'm the Sean. He's the fucking Janetti. Anyway. But the funny thing is that no matter what anybody says, no matter what level you were in the business, you were in the business. You were in the spotlight, regardless of what situation you win. So if a fan chips his teeth, just remember, you know who I am. I don't know who you are.
Exactly.
That's how I look at it.
What's interesting, like, Richard Wilson, who played Renegade, was actually an exotic dancer in the early 90s before he became a professional wrestler. So, is professional wrestling something that, he always wanted to be? Was it something that, like a lot of guys that sort of just fell into the business, and it's like, or was he just one of those guys who was just trying, not necessarily about being professional wrestling, but just wanted to be famous, who was in love?
He might have been dancing for Hogan one night and Hogan got him in there. Who knows?
No, but I mean, look at
brother.
But that's the same thing with all the wrestlers back in Minnesota with Rick Rude and all them working at that bar as bouncers, and the guy walks in. Yeah, and they're like, yo, man, you guys look fucking great. You should be pro wrestlers. And then boom, that's what took off. Maybe that's not what was on their mind at the time, but when they got the opportunity, they're like, fuck it, yeah, I'll do it. I want to be a wrestler. And I mean, not knocking Buff, but wasn't Buff an exotic dancer, and Missy Hyatt found him and gave him the opportunity as well? I mean, it comes to your table, man. You got to jump on it if you're interested.
Let me ask you guys this, and this is something I want to throw out there, because like we all know, and we just covered the Ultimate Warrior, the other week. Could it have been a possibility that they were building towards and probably in talks with the Ultimate Warrior, and they're going to go, yeah, we're going to bring him in, and they started doing the vignettes and all this bullshit, and then for whatever reason that deal just evaporated and didn't, died on the vine, so to speak. And then maybe that put WCW in a rush going, fuck, we've just aired all these fucking Ultimate Warrior vignettes, the Ultimate thing is coming.
Well, they got him not too long after that, so that might have been the case.
Yeah, maybe he was holding them up for more money, and and then they just said, fuck it, let's just, shit on them, because again, that's what they did with Goldberg, with Gilbert. That's what they did, what was that old Macho Man when they did the Nacho Man, and then Shawn Michaels did the Oyster or whatever the fuck he did, I mean, it's just a little shoot.
Well, what Hogan wanted when he came to WCW was like, okay, how do I mirror the success I had in WWF? I'm going to bring in all my boys. So you see slowly but surely, you go from Bash at the Beach 94, where their roster is awesome, and then you go to Starrcade 94, and it's completely like the Hogan show. Honky Tonk is there, although he's going to be about to be fired by Bischoff. Earthquake is there. Jim Duggan is there. I mean, it slowly becomes the Hogan show. Then all of a sudden it's like, okay, who else? Macho Man makes his debut. He's trying to bring in all the guys that he did make money with and was very successful with in WWF, but he's trying to recreate that in WCW. Who else? Ultimate Warrior. So they were in talks with Warrior. I always talk to Kevin Sullivan about this because he was very friendly with Warrior. They got along great. Him and Sullivan, even going back to their bodybuilding days and their weightlifting days and stuff. So he knew him for a long time. So Hogan always kind of wanted Warrior to come in. When they couldn't get him, he wanted too much money. He was back in talks with Vince too. Eventually, about a year later, he'd be in talks with Vince in '96. So he's like, "Why don't we create our own Warrior?" And then Bischoff's like, "I don't know if this guy is ready," but Hogan's like, "No, he'll be ready." So it was one of those things where even Bischoff was kind of questioning. He's like, "I don't know if this guy Renegade Richard Wilson is ready," but Hogan thinks, "Okay, this will be the spot. I want to recreate my own Ultimate Warrior. If we can't get the real thing, let's go about it this way." But you're throwing him into the lion's den. He's teaming with Savage, team with Hogan. You got on the other side Vader, Arn Anderson, and Flair. So it's like the top of the card already, and this guy is green as goose shit. It's like, I don't know about this, but Hogan's like, nope, he could do it. He's ready. We don't need the real Warrior. Let's go.
And also look at it like this as well. What's a big factor in pro wrestling as well? Jealousy jealousy in politics. Yep. So say, for example, you're a mid-carder at that stage, lower to mid-card, wherever it may be. You see this guy who's greener than goose shit coming in, and he's in there with like Savage, Hogan, Sting, Vader, Rude. You know what I mean? Again, other things that could lead to this guy, going into a state of depression, because then none of the boys want nothing to fucking do with him backstage in the locker room. And I'm just like I said, I'm not saying this was the fact. I'm just saying, could this have been a possibility? We've got Angel and Allan here that have been in many locker rooms over the years, and and John, yourself have been in locker rooms as well, I'm sure. But could that have been a possibility as well? Could that been a factor which also could have led to his depression?
Absolutely. If he wasn't close to a lot of guys, I'm sure he got big heat. For a lot of the guys coming up with me, we all supported each other because we traveled together. There was probably 10, 20 of us that we always wanted to see everybody do well. But then you got them guys on the outside. You're like, fuck that guy. I don't give a shit. He's getting a spot. He hadn't worked as hard as I have. So he definitely got heat.
I know. I can see Macho Man talking to Allan. You see that right there, brother? Boom. Desperation. They did it.
Yeah, brother. Put a wig on right there, brother. Yeah.
They were desperate, brother. You know,
Well, even Arn, who's known as being one of the greatest workers ever, was like, "Shit, I got to work with this guy." He's like, he's not ready for this spot. And it's like, nope, he's going to be the TV champion, and like, nope, you got to work with him. It's like, all right, Hogan kind of had creative control in a lot of aspects, so it's like, okay, if I have to work with this guy, I have to lose with this guy. And Sullivan is booking it. It's like, okay, Kev, I disagree with what you're saying here, but I'll do it because you want me to do it. But I don't agree with necessarily this guy being ready to be TV champion quite yet.
man. And that's the thing, man. It's just like I said, this analogy, man. You take a steak, put it on a nice plate, and you present it. And the guy, man, that looks good. You take the fucking same steak, and fucking take a garbage can lid, put it upside down, slap that steak on there, and present that shit. And they're gonna be look at you like, really? Even though the steak looked good, you're still presenting it on a shitty platform, and that's the problem. They just didn't give them enough. I mean, it's just a presentation.
Well, unfortunately, that's why WCW probably went under. They used to do that shit all the time with guys that aren't ready. They didn't care.
Yeah, man.
But do you think, and like this is probably a little bit off topic, right? But I just wanted to ask this question since we got Kwee
fucking
here.
Mark.
Fuck. But no, like, let me ask you this, because you said before, Kwee, like, Russo wanted to bring up the guys from the power plant and use them and push them, but guys at the top were like going, no, we're not going to do business. Looking at that through a different set of lenses, do you think it would have been like, well, you know what, you've brought up green guys before, they've hurt us, they've done this, or they didn't get over? Do you think that could have been one of the factors why those guys back then didn't want to do business with someone, from the power plant coming up because they had gone through it before?
No. Here's what. Looking back on it, man, I honestly believe these guys, and I heard it from a lot of these top guys. Every time we went to a TV tape and everybody at a show, all these guys said, "Man, we can't work with you guys because you'll make us look bad." Not meaning we'd blow them up. These guys couldn't hang with us. We all knew how to work coming out of the power plant, and if you watch any of our matches, there's no doubt that we all knew how to work. So them guys saying that they didn't want to work us too green, that's bullshit. I worked with Kidman. I worked with Rey Mysterio. I did matches, guys that only dream of having out of the power plant. And I had good matches with these guys.
He never wrestled the Maestro.
I'm not saying that was the case, Alan. I'm saying, do you think that could have been the mindset of those guys? Like, do you think that they didn't even bother looking at what you guys had done?
Well, I mean, the egos definitely, because they think they're a lot of those top guys in WCW. Even Flair to this day, if he was still up there, he wouldn't want to put anybody over because he's still trying to stay on TV. And that was the mentality of all these older guys. They didn't want to make room for nobody else other than Nash. Kind of helped a lot of us out. Him and DDP, as much as it pains me to say that, he tried to help some of us out too. But there's only so much two guys can do when the rest of the guys are saying they don't want to work with them. And I guarantee it was jealousy because all of us out of the power plant, dude. If you remember, we came out of the power plant. Our bodies were ridiculous. Our cardio was off the chain, and nobody wanted to work with us because of that reason.
But it's funny. I mean, look, I know, Pierce, you don't understand, but I mean, I'm not saying you don't, but look, I remember when Shawn Michaels' cousin came to ECW, and Paul was drooling all over him. He just came in and he was just drooling over the motherfucker. And I remember DeVito looked at me, gave me that side-eye look, and just did that face like it's on, and we didn't have to say nothing. He's like, okay, we'll see how this will pay off. A nice kid, but again, he just came in and got the red carpet treatment because he was Shawn Michaels' cousin or nephew, whatever it was, and he got put to the ringer and he had to earn the stripes.
But you know what? That happens in the wrestling business, bro. These guys that are, Shawn Michaels, he thinks that his cousin deserves that shot because he's Shawn Michaels' cousin.
Like Horace Hogan.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know how much he was getting paid, but I mean,
from what I heard, he was getting paid pretty well.
Yeah, because he's fucking Horace Hogan's cousin. You better pay my cousin good. You see right nephew. There, that's called favoritism, brother. Nephew, whatever, man.
Nephew, yeah.
Whatever, man. He was still getting paid. Take care of your family, But I mean, like
listen,
I said,
guys, I got to take off, man. I appreciate you guys having me on here.
Yeah.
Anything else before I leave?
No, I think it's actually probably time we sail off into the sunset anyway, don't you think?
No, no problem. Yeah, absolutely. But again, Alan, the check's in the mail, from Paul Heyman. And
yeah, okay, I'll hold my breath on that one.
But go ahead, John, before we close up, what were you gonna say?
I was going to say, if like Renegade, if he shouldn't be getting the push, the locker room doesn't like him, even the guy that's working with him doesn't like him. He's like, man, I'm not ready for this, but Hogan's giving me this spot. It's hard. It's a lot of pressure just on him, just to think like, all right, nobody really wants me in this spot, but I guess I'll perform, even though I'm not really up to it because I'm pretty green in the business. Just a bad spot for him to be in, I think, in general. Tough
Mhm.
Yeah,
spot.
yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
it was good and bad for him. It was probably more bad for him, looking back on it. But like I told him earlier, when you're given an opportunity like that, for all the hard work it took you to get there, you really don't want to say no, no matter what it is.
Yep.
Absolutely, man. So final thoughts, Alan. What's your final thoughts on the situation?
Well, my final thoughts on the situation is, unfortunately, that's the wrestling entertainment business. Stuff like that's it's average. It's normal. That's just the way it is. How you let it affect you, everybody's different. But I can't say that he was weak because I never knew the guy. And mental health it's definite. It's a thing. And if anybody's got any mental health issues, please call. We got the hotline running down here on the bottom. If you're in Australia, call the Australian hotline. If anybody out there is watching this show feels like they want to kill themselves, send me a message on Instagram or Facebook, and hell, I'll help you out and try to point you in the right direction. But you don't have to be on TV to have a mental health issue. But the TV is what I'm saying amplifies all this, because you're working with guys that are household names, and when you're thrown in a situation like this, it's 10 times worse on your mental health, because you got so much stuff running through your mind. You don't want to disappoint all these people. Like John said, you got so much pressure on you at this point. You got to perform or you're going to get fired. And whatever happened with him, he didn't renew his contract. He might already had mental health issues coming into wrestling, and that certainly didn't help him. So, if anybody's thinking about getting in the wrestling or entertainment business, maybe you want to reevaluate. If you have some mental health issues already, you're not mentally strong, you might want to reevaluate what you do. And that goes with anything in life. Just, if you need mental health help, just reach out for it, man. Everybody's open to it nowadays. So don't be afraid to ask.
Well, I don't have much to say because I'm piggybacking off what Alan said, because that's exactly what I was going to say. So I'm just going to pass it on to John.
I was going to say, just a really tough spot to put in. On paper, it's just not going to work. If you really think about it, like, okay, fake Ultimate Warrior is going to be teaming with Hogan and Savage to recreate the magic of WWF from 5 years earlier. I don't know. It just, on paper, wasn't going to work. I think the boys know it was going to work. Maybe deep down, he knew it wasn't going to work, but I know Hogan was like believing it and thought he could recreate some magic there. And I think it put a lot of extra pressure on this guy, and it gave him a lot of extra heat from the boys in the back that this green guy was getting a great spot in the main event. He's like the third wheel to Hogan and Savage. I mean, that's a huge spot, one of the biggest spots you can put in, and you're feuding with Flair and Vader and Arn Anderson. So, I mean, tough spot, ultra pressure, and I think he got a lot of heat from the boys, and I think all that kind of messed with his mind for sure. And then it's all of a sudden, it's like, okay, it didn't work. Now what? Let's put you with Desperado Joe Gomez and try to do something. That's not really working. And then he gets fired. So it's like, it was, I think it was a recipe for disaster, unfortunately for him. Unfortunately, he couldn't have started off with another gimmick and then maybe worked his way up. Then I think would have been much better for him in his career.
Yeah.
Go Pierce.
I think, a 33-year-old man, taking his own life is horrendous. I think anyone taking their own life is horrendous. And I think, all the factors going into his career that he probably wasn't set up for success. And it goes to show, like, we see WWE doing all these releases over the last, 12 months to 2 years, that's a support that they need to be able to offer these people, because it's like, you look at some of the stars that get released recently, they might not have the star power or whatever to go to an AEW or to go to an Impact Wrestling, and that could be their careers done. And then they go into a state of depression. So I think that, the companies need to have a state of duty of care for these individuals that they put in these positions. As Alan said, in this day and age, it's not, weak to speak. And I think men specifically have always been, we as men, we hold our feelings in. We don't let people know when we're feeling down or whatever. I think that if you are feeling suicidal, you are having thoughts of depression or suicide or anything of that nature, reach out, reach out and, get the help that you need. Contact one of us. We'll help point you in the right direction for the right people that you need to speak to. But, I'd rather hear a friend's problems, every day for 3 hours a day than have to attend a 1 hour funeral. You know what I mean? Like straight out. And that's the best thing I can say. I think it's a shame. This guy probably needed a bit more seasoning, and unfortunately, we would have never been able to see what he could have done post that position. So.
Well, first of all, if I die, it's not going to be an hour funeral because it's going to be extravaganza, baby, with fireworks and, and sparklers and everything. But anyway, man, I know Allan got to go. I got to go. Got family stuff to do. I do appreciate it. Pierce, no, John, since you were late, you close it off, baby.
Thank you, Allan. Thank you, Pierce. Thank you to the Colonel Kingpin. That's been this week, Wrestling with Tragedy. See you next week, folks. Peace.
This is Vince Russo's The Brand.